Okay, so if not, we'll move on to the next speaker. The next speaker is Joachim Fischer.
Yes, okay, you get my presentation works?
Yes, we have your presentation, and this is Joachim Fischer, The Importance of Patient's Will at Corona Crisis in Germany.
Unfortunately, this theme has become very actual in Germany. In Heidelberg and in Zittau, which is in Saxony, there are discussions about triage, who will survive, who has to die. And this was the situation in Germany we wanted to avoid, but actually it comes to it. And the will of the patient is very important in German law, because in Heinsberg, where it was a very severe situation in the first wave of the Corona crisis, 16% of the patients refused an intense medical treatment. This could be been one effect to reduce the amount of people who had to be artificial respiration. Problem is, according to German law, the patient's decree is binding any physician to the patient's will. The German courts claim to describe any situation very exact. This makes in practical a lot of problems, because any situation has to be described exactly, and there is a big discussion. I could not take part in it. If this Corona, in times of Corona, this patient's decree is important or not. And I'm very sure, as I know it in Germany, there will be some trials against physicians, unfortunately. Actually, the Medical Association released new forms of patient's decrees for the case of Corona. But there are some problems in ethics. First, a patient's decree may reduce the need for intensive care. But if there is possible, the patients may be urged to write a patient's will to save resources. This is very well known in Germany. We had the situation in Nazi times, and this was it started in 1920 when Binding and Hoche claimed, Binding was a lawyer and Hoche was a psychiatrist, to kill handicapped people because it's too expensive to take care of them. And this was formed immediately in the action T4, named after Tiergarten 4, when Nazis decided to kill all handicapped people. And those experiences were changed into the Shoah or Holocaust. I don't like the word Shoah. I prefer the word Shoah. So it is very difficult in German for some historical reason to discuss about euthanasia. So the solution in Germany is have a patient's decree, what to do in case of Corona, in case of artificial respiration, and all those things like this. But if there is a patient's decree to explain, yes, I don't want any artificial respiration, and the physicians decide, no, there's a need of artificial respiration, they have to ignore the patient's will. And this becomes very problematic. On the other hand, practical physicians, I know it as I worked at the psychiatric hospital at the gerontopsychiatry as a pastor, has a problem. Some people urge the doctors, oh, let the people not suffer as long. So they are forced to terminate people's life. And in Germany, any doctor is really in this problem to have an euthanasia, which is forbidden, or let it live. So we have a real difficult problem, and any of my students has to deal with it. So we have the problem, only a patient's degree may reduce the need for triage. Actually, we are discussing in Germany about triage, and there are many obstacles in detail to be discussed. And in special, we have the German history, which is another problem. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was very good. I think all of us in all countries, and this came up even early on in the States when we realized we may not have enough ventilators in different parts of the country. It became a big ethical issue of who would be able to obtain the ventilators, and some hospitals looked at triaging type systems that they had, and I think, as you're pointing out here in Germany, with the history, it may be even more difficult in terms of the ethical issues.
Yes, it's really more difficult, and we had a big discussion about utilitarianism in Germany with Peter Singer. There were big demonstrations against Peter Singer because many people believe this would lead to a new Nazism if people discuss the utilitaristic theory of Peter Singer.
Mm-hmm.